A Muslim flight attendant says that she was suspended by her job, ExpressJet, for refusing to serve alcohol in accordance with her Islamic faith. Now, already, I'm pretty sure I can guess a lot of your reaction. They said, the Michigan woman, Charee Stanley, who recently converted to Islam about 2 years ago, filed a discrimination complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission on Tuesday for the revocation of a reasonable religious accommodation. Now, I'm going to get into how actually unreasonable that is, but let me get through the CNN article first. Now, her lawyer, a woman by the name of Lena Masri, who's an attorney with the Michigan chapter of the Council on American-Islamic Relations, says that, well, the woman just wants to do her job, but without serving alcohol in accordance with her Islamic faith, just as she was doing before her suspension. She said, quote, what this case comes down to is no one should have to choose between their career and religion, and it's incumbent upon employers to provide a safe environment where employees can feel they can practice their religion freely. Now, first of all, if you guys are wondering, according to religion of Islam, she not only can't drink alcohol, but she also can't serve it either. Why anybody would choose a religion that doesn't allow you to drink, I will never know. I don't get it, but hey, okay. Now that's a problem, of course, because her job's a flight attendant. Flight attendants have to serve alcohol. That's part of their job. Now, she was asking for reasonable accommodation. I do not think this is reasonable, and I'll get to why. She was told by her supervisor when she asked for reasonable accommodation to work on an arrangement for someone to fulfill passenger requests for alcohol. Now, there already, her employer said, hey, we don't care. Work it out with your coworkers. It doesn't really bother us. So what does that actually mean? Well, basically, she's asking her fellow employees to do her job for her when it comes to serving alcohol. She said that's part of your job as a flight attendant is to serve alcohol. And so every time somebody asks her, hey, can you get me like a beer? She's got to go bug one of her fellow employees and say, hey, the guy down in aisle 2 or something wants a beer. Doesn't seem like the biggest deal, but I think it could get annoying. And of course, that led to one of her fellow employees filing a complaint against her. Now, she says, another flight attendant filed a complaint against Stanley on August 2nd, claiming she was not fulfilling her duties by refusing to serve alcohol. And this is according to her lawyer. The employee complaint also said Stanley had a book with foreign writings and wore a headdress. Okay, look, I don't care about the headdress. You can wear whatever the fuck you want. I don't really give a fuck. The foreign writing thing, ridiculous. Imagine if you had an untranslated Bible or even a Torah. Oh my God, foreign writings. Scary. It's almost like that sign that was in Jewish that people thought was an ISIS sign. Foreign writings don't necessarily mean horrible things. I'm just saying, headdresses don't always mean horrible things. What's the thing about this story that I'm actually not on her side is that she wasn't doing her job. That's the main problem here. Now, according to her lawyer, after that, a complaint was filed, they revoked her exception, saying that they placed her on unpaid leave and they advised her that her employment may be terminated after 12 months. Now, that is also incredibly generous, giving her 12 months of, suspension to figure out what she's going to do next. Masri said, we are requesting that her employment be reinstated and the accommodation of her religious beliefs be reinstated as well. Now, a spokesman for ExpressJet declined to discuss Stanley's complaint. All right. So what do I think about this? I think it's pretty obvious at this point. I do not think she should get that exemption. Why? Because this is not an example of religious freedom. This, I think, is an attempt to force your religion upon other people. In this case, the other employees and the passengers. Now, how is this forcing her religion upon everybody else? Well, the accommodation was not fair to her coworkers that now had to do extra work to accommodate her religion. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of lazy. I don't like doing extra work if I don't have to. I'm sure there are some people that didn't mind it, but obviously there was someone who did mind it, who said, hey, you know what, that's not fair. I now have to do more stuff because she doesn't want to because of her religion. It's not exactly fair. Now, for example, if I worked in a supermarket as a stocker, but I refused to serve or to stock alcohol or, handle alcohol or handle pork, which is against the Muslim religion, because of my religion, well, I would be rightly fired. I would be terminated for not doing my job. Or what about a school teacher that refuses to teach math because they don't believe in math? I know it's an extreme example, but nonetheless, you see where I'm going with this. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And another point here is that, look, this isn't choosing your career over your religion. There are plenty of other jobs where you don't have to serve drinks. Or serve gays, for example. That's also against the Quran and against the Bible. She could do other tasks, even at the place where she works at, instead of being a flight attendant. She could do other jobs. I would consider even a reasonable accommodation, ExpressJet finding her something else to do that doesn't involve alcohol. I don't know what, but, and I don't even know if she'd go for it, but that, I think, would be a reasonable accommodation. Here's what it comes down to. This so-called religious freedom stuff, it's getting out of hand. It's getting crazy. What if everybody decided not to work Sundays? You know you're not supposed to, right? God said the Sabbath is holy. What if everybody who had to work Sunday stopped working Sundays? Who was a Christian? You know, there are places that have to have people staffed every day of the week. For example, you've got places where you take care of people who can't take care of themselves. Well, I'm sorry, if they don't get their medication, if they don't get taken care of, they could die. Oh no, but God says take the Sabbath off. It's holy. You're not allowed to work Sundays. Right? Well, what about serving or handling pork? I know I keep bringing that up. Deuteronomy 14:8 says, "And the swine, because it divideth the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud, is unclean unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, nor touch their dead carcass." Well, how come Tim Tebow isn't claiming that he can't throw a football? Well, they do call it a pigskin after all. Right? As I said, this is getting out of hand. What's to stop somebody who makes up their own religion to get out of doing something that they don't want to do? For example, I don't like working 5 days a week. So what if I made a religion that says I can only work 3 days a week, but I must get paid for all 5? I'll call it Jeffism. And guess what? I'll file for I'll file for tax exempt status. I know, it's so ridiculous. And then I'll sue for religious freedom when, I don't get paid for my 5 days of work. According to my religion, what? It's religious freedom. What are you talking about? You see how ridiculous it sounds when it's not your religion? I'm just saying. Now, this did tie into the Kim Davis situation, macro kind of picture, when you step back and look at it. And when you do, you got to step back and ask, how much should a secular nation bend to the demands of religious people? I think that's an important question to ask. We have a freedom to practice religion, according to the Constitution. But that freedom doesn't mean that we also have the ability to force other people into practicing that religion too, or to deal with us practicing that religion. In this case, the case of the Muslim woman, her co-workers and passengers. Imagine if no one, imagine if nobody wanted to serve alcohol, if they were all Muslim on that flight. and all felt like this violated their religious freedom. Well, nobody on that flight's going to get alcohol. I know it's a small thing, but it's an infringement on people's freedom. What about if the other flight attendants called in sick and she was the only one on staff? Would then the passengers have to bow down and defer to her religious freedom by not being able to be served alcohol? Did the gay couples have to bow down and not get a marriage license at Kim Davis's office? Well, before she got put in jail, that's exactly what happened. What about the undue burden when it comes to, I don't know, their constitutional rights to equal treatment under the law? Why should they have to travel to another office to get their marriage license? It's sort of the same thing. And this is where we get to cherry picking. We get to cherry pick the laws in the Quran or any other holy book. Right? That's what they do. They cherry pick laws from both of their books, from any of their holy books. And everybody cherry picks. I don't care who you are. Everybody cherry picks. You know why? And here's some good examples. Mixed fiber, shrimp, stoning gays, and adulterers. Nobody can follow every edict of their holy book. It would be impractical, uncomfortable, and in some cases, criminal. So maybe religious people, you should stop picking out specific things in your Bible, Quran, or whatever holy book you practice. And finally, the last point I want to address on this story is that, look, you need to do your jobs, all right? And if this job violates your sincerely held religious beliefs, then I'm sorry, you need to find a different job. You have that option. Nobody is saying that you can't be a religious person or believe in a religion or practice your religion. You can do that in your own time. But when you're at work, you're expected to do a job that you agreed to. And yes, I know reasonable accommodation. But that's exactly it. It has to be reasonable and not put undue burdens on your coworkers or your employer. And in this case, the employer said, hey, look, we'll let you talk about it with the people that it's going to impact the most. We don't care. Practice your religion. But work it out with other people that you work with. The other people that you work with weren't buying it. So that's why she got suspended. And I agree with that. You should find another job. It's as simple as that. You can't force your religion on other people who don't practice that religion.